you can. Yes, you can. So, hey, it's time for Real Raw Recovery. I'm Joe Tilley.
I'm Tyler Tilley.
Let's open with a moment of silence and the Serenity We prayer. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and wisdom to know the difference.
Is your headset in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it, can you do the reading today?
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Rodney?
I just opened I just loaded the episode 31.
Ah, okay.
So I shared it already, so maybe share it tomorrow. Don't.
Yeah. That'll work out good.
Okay, my checklist, not yours, from the Daily Reflection.
Okay.
Gossip, barbed with our anger, a polite form of murder by character assassination, has its satisfactions for us. Here we are. I'm going to start over.
Okay.
My checklist, not yours. Gossip, barbed with our anger, a polite form of murder by character assassination, has its satisfactions for us too. Here we are not trying to help those we criticize. We are trying to proclaim our own righteousness. 12 and 12, 67. Page 67. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I don't realize that I gossiped about someone until the end of the day, when I take an inventory of the day's activities, and then my gossiping appears like a blemish in my beautiful day. How could I have said something like that? Gossip shows its ugly head during a coffee break or lunch with business associates. Or I may gossip during the evening when I'm tired from the day's activities and feel just in bolstering my ego at the expense of someone else. Character defects like gossip sneak into my life when I'm not making a constant effort to work the 12 steps of recovery. I need to remind myself that my uniqueness is the blessing of my being, and that applies equally to everyone who crosses my path in life's journey. Today, the only inventory I need to take is my own. I'll leave the judgment of others to the final judge, divine providence.
Yeah, gossip's a tough one. It's I catch myself wanting to gossip sometimes, and I'm able to stop myself, and then sometimes I find myself in the middle of it and going, "What the hell am I doing? This isn't," because it doesn't feel good, right?
Sometimes it does.
Well, does it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things that leaves me feeling empty. It's like it's the same thing as basically a drink used to do, make me feel empty. There was something that I was looking for from it, because that's why I did it. But at the end of the day, it left me feeling empty. It's when I'm able to not partake in it, I find that I feel better. Right away I feel better, knowing that I've had this opportunity to gossip and I didn't. It feels good, And I think my first, I don't do it enough. I don't think, I'd like to do it faster, more often. I'd like to do it all the time, but it's it's hard, because there is some ego feeding effect that gossip has. Because somehow, if I'm gossiping about somebody else and looking at their character defects, I'm putting them down, and somehow I think I'm building myself up, and that's what the ego believes. And it's, in a sense, I I believe that because my ego believes it, but it's not the truth. Geez, I got a really good thing from Mike, my buddy Mike today, and I'm going to send it to you. It was William James. It's about a nine-minute video about William James, and it's he's quoted by Bill Wilson in the Big Book at least once, and it's interesting, really interesting how he talks about happiness and how morbid melancholy, like depression, and how and how we can have a spiritual awakening which allows us to be happy. And I think it's really awesome. I can't do it justice by trying to talk about it here, but I will send it to you so you get it and look at it. But it's really good. Anyway, it reminded me that when I do things, when I practice the principles of recovery in all my affairs, I feel good. Like, I mean, what I'm talking about is love, tolerance, honesty, integrity, decency. When I practice those things, when I helping others, right? Helping others is such a huge part of everything for me. I feel better. I don't get wrapped up in that morbid melancholy state that probably is at the heart of depression. And so a way out of that for me is to really work hard in practicing, those principles in all my affairs, right? Particularly honesty and tolerance, right? And helping others. And really, and this topic today about gossip, how that's not helping anybody, right? That doesn't help anybody. Mm-hmm. Except it helps my ego, and that's what I don't want to help my ego. I want to fight the ego, because the ego, is my biggest problem. That's what leads me to that crazy place of the black hole depression. My ego will lead me there. By telling me that this gossip is fun, it's exciting, it's good for me. Gossip is good. Do the gossip. That's what the ego says to me, and it's not. It's not good for me. It's counter. It's counter to those principles that I'm just talking about, like integrity, honesty, helping others, love, tolerance.
Hello?
Yep.
Oh, I thought you cut out.
No, I just stopped talking.
Impossible.
Yeah, it is possible. It is possible. And so, what are your thoughts about that? Because the other thing is, I also don't want to beat myself up ever, right? So, I will cut myself a little bit of slack and be a little tolerant, loving and tolerant with myself. When I allow myself, I will allow myself to gossip a little bit and not beat the hell out of myself. That's what I'm telling you. But I don't it's not good for me. The less I gossip, the more I'm going to be at peace with myself.
I honestly can't remember the last time I gossiped about somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
I just know that I recognize when I meet a great man, and I recognize when I meet someone has good characteristics or good traits.
Yeah.
I've met a couple of great people that when they talk about somebody behind their back, it's always really great things. and
Right.
really impressive. And the logic of like, if there is an issue with that individual, it's said to their face.
Yeah.
And when they're not in the room, then they're spoke about in high regard. And then I think when I immediately said, I don't mind gossip, because I think if I were to gossip about somebody, I can't think of like someone offhand. I feel like it'd be warranted, so I don't feel like I'd be feeling guilty. I'd just be like, yeah, man, like stay away from that guy. He's a fucking douchebag. I don't know if you qualify that as gossip or just honesty. So it's kind of like, that's why I'm
Well, okay, yeah. So, okay, what about somebody like a political leader who's causing friction with the world and
that's not
something like
gossip.
that.
That's not gossip.
But what if I'm talking about that person behind? Obviously it's behind their back. So I mean, is that not a little bit of gossip? Maybe.
No.
No. Okay. Because I mean, what in the sports world, I'm always talking about athletes and coaches and things like that, and and criticizing their work on occasion, right? So
That's what makes the
is that
sports world what it is. Like when you put yourself
So,
out,
but that it is a form of gossip in a sense, though, isn't it?
well, that's what I mean. I guess like there's levels, right? Like if I'm going to talk about somebody with a disability and just put them down and mock them, obviously you should question who you're hanging around for starters.
Right.
And
Okay.
so, like there's levels to the game, and so I'm just saying that for me, if I were to actually start going, oh, this guy does this guy does that, there's probably good reason I'm saying that. It's not just like for my own ego, as you mentioned. Like, and that's why I said I can't remember the last time I go, oh, that guy's art's terrible. Have you seen why? Like, obviously, I have a problem. Like, it's so like not a less. This reading should be read to kids who are under the age of 10. It sounds like you're trying to teach somebody in kindergarten how to behave in public with other members of society. This is not like a groundbreaking reading. This is for like almost like, I don't really understand its logic. It's like, it's kind of like they're just claiming it's a defect of character so they could fill a page. But it's like, okay, don't talk about people behind their back. Okay, like thanks so much. Like it just does. It's a little nonsensical, and I don't really find it valuable at all. However, I do believe that where I am today, that if I caught myself and I was going, oh, that guy's art is shit, he does this and this, I'd be like, dude, are you like, what's going on with you, man? Like, why would you say that? Like, it's evident. So like, there's a lot of different layers to this game. For me to talk about someone who's in the public sphere or on stage, it's not gossip. It's just news. It's newsworthy. People talk about the news because they don't know what else to talk about.
Okay. So what about okay? So do you ever look at somebody's art and go, oh, that's not very good in your mind, right? Do you ever look at somebody's art and say, and think, ooh, that's not very good? And even if it's like a popular artist or whatever, you might think to yourself, ooh, that's not very good. And never have the and maybe be around other people and just happen to say, yeah, you know what, I wasn't really, that didn't do anything for me. I don't get it or anything like that. Have you ever felt that or done that?
That would just be an opinion. I wouldn't consider it gossip. Again, when you make a decision to put your art in the public forum, and like in the past, I've had reason to say things like when I would try to run a gallery, I wouldn't want to get art on the wall. So like you got to classify things as they are. People can have differences of opinion, but again, that's not gossip. That's just saying how I feel and how it makes me feel. And like, sure, like there's artists that I was looking at, one artist that his art's good. I would qualify it as good. And I felt like, I wonder if he's seen like there was a few times where I almost feel like there's some overlap where like he's doing things that I've done before, and you could look at it like great minds think alike. And then I was just wondering where he's based, because if he was based in Los Angeles, then there's a good chance he could have seen my work.
Yeah.
and he's not. He's from London, England. So kind of throws my theory out the window. And I judge it, but like
Well,
usually,
not really, because your stuff is available on the internet. So I mean,
yeah, that's plausible. But like, so either way though, like I think like I don't consider it gossip because it's just honest. Like if I go like this piece is good, this piece I don't care for. Like when you put yourself out there, like if you're an actor or a politician or a competitor in sports, like you got to take some ownership for the fact that people are going to talk about you because you're in the sphere. And if you can look at it, like like I could see that if your whole shtick was what lopsided, where you just made fun of people and they're making mistakes.
yeah. And you know what? When you think about it, that's kind of, those Hollywood Reporter shows and TMZ and stuff like that. That's kind of what it's all about, isn't it?
Right. Finding
Right.
faults, right?
Finding faults in others and outlining the faults in others, and that's what it's all about. But shows are still like that are quite attractive to people. Some people.
Right.
So
But you're not that person, so like I wouldn't.
So, but what? Okay, but what if you're that? What if you just find yourself watching a show like that? Not necessarily. I mean, for example, there's some famous talk show hosts who do a lot of that, like really critical of other people.
Yeah.
And they make a shtick out of that, right? And it's quite successful for them. And they have a large listener viewership, right?
Right.
And so is that not gossip? Is that not what that's all about? And if I'm listening to that and I'm finding enjoyment in that, I'm not partaking in that gossip, right?
Yeah, but do you do it all the time?
Well, yeah, no, I wouldn't say so. No, I don't do it all the time. And some people I just refuse to listen to for that very reason, right?
So you're fine then.
And so, yeah, well, most of the time I am, but I guess my point being is that, there are times when I find myself listening to, contributing to gossip, and I don't feel good about it. And I know that, so it's not a good thing for me to do that. So that's all I'm saying. If I'm listening to some radio show or whatever, and it's just one thing after another about that person and that person, that person, that person, and at the end of the like 45 minutes of that or half an hour of that or whatever it is, and I stop listening, and after that I feel like hungover. I feel like it's yuck. I don't feel good. It's not a happy place for me to be.
Okay, don't do that anymore then.
Okay. All right. So that's about it for this one then. Is that what you're saying?
No, I just feel like I think like it's kind of like, again, if you have the same intellect as the reading, well then it's a whole groundbreaking concept. From the other perspective of like living on this planet for however long you live, like do your own research. Do you get like what's the return on investment for and or talking about someone in a negative light to others when they're not in the room. And
right.
Hopefully by
that's the time good. Which is the definition of gossip. Yeah.
Hopefully by the time you're like when you've reached like 40, you can realize that like you're not gaining anything. And when you do talk about somebody behind their back in a positive note, what's your return on that? And what you'll find is it's great return. So then hopefully by the time you're 40, you've clued in that you don't need to be taught lessons from when you were in kindergarten. And if you do, then we're not having the same conversation and I can't relate to you. And you should probably get somebody else to bother. Because I can't like I literally can't remember when I talked about someone and then felt fucking foolish after because I was like just obviously jealous.
Yeah.
So like if I'm gonna break down like this guy's career, like it's one thing to say so and so like I'm a little up to speed on boxing versus any other sport. So like if you have like, if I went into great depths about Earl Spence Jr. getting in that car accident, possibly drinking and driving, and like
Yeah.
those are just the facts. Like those are just the facts right now. And
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. He was near a bar that was that they knew him, and I don't know if he was coming or going, or he just happened to be near there. And so like, these are all just facts and going over what happened. I don't find that gossip. I don't. The moment I go, oh, he's a piece of shit. He doesn't have his life together. Look at these young boxers just buying Ferrari. I just sound like a complete fucking fool. And like I would immediately, if I was listening to somebody like that, go, you got nothing. You have nothing. You add nothing. And I've learned that so long ago, sort of like to bring it up like it's some groundbreaking lesson, like, oh, it's our character deed. Gotta be careful. It's like, no, like, well, like, hopefully, like, for me, it's like I need to know those ins and outs about myself. That the moment I start going into depth and like judging the shit out of somebody else, especially with somebody else, that's all me. That's all my own problem. So,
Yeah.
So I don't really like this lesson that they're going through in the reading is just landfill, and I feel it's like, but like, so okay, don't talk about people when they're not in the room. That's literally what you teach a child, and that's fine. That like they want to really reinforce that to children, and I guess they're like, I just find it like, okay, at least give me a different spin or a more in-depth reality check on like personal, like it's just kind of like, it would be better to spin it like when you're looking at other people, you would really want to check where you're at, right? Like, so the moment I start talking about somebody else, like that, there's going to be a lot of signals and a lot of like red flags that go up. And so I want to protect myself, and B, really know what I'm saying, and really stand behind what I'm saying. And I can't stand behind what I'm saying when I'm just talking poorly about somebody else that I probably don't even know very well.
Yeah, and that's, but again, that's that. See, like any type of the reading for the daily reflections or any other reading, it's all about food for thought and stuff to stimulate some thought. And it does, and this is a character defect. Gossip is a character defect, obviously, that's not good for us. And so but some of us do it.
Not anybody in my circle, like,
but not at all. Like, you just never gossip. You never, like, I would say that probably a lot of people that I know do. And so maybe it's because, you know, I'm yeah, for sure. A lot of people do. I mean, it just, yeah. And so I'm aware that I do, and maybe it's because I talk a lot.
Yeah.
So because I talk a lot, because I, you know, share a lot, I'm in interaction with other people a lot. Maybe because of that, I find myself crossing that line from time to time. And you know, because, you know, the more I talk, the better chance I have of doing some gossip. So because you're not in that same realm as me, you're in a different type of realm. Like an artist is on his own. I mean, that's the whole idea of it. You're on your own, and a lot. And whereas me, I'm in the art of talking, right? I'm involved heavily in the art of talking and having intercourse with others, right? Mm-hmm. Verbal intercourse. So it's like, yeah. So that's because of that. I think the chances of me crossing that line into the gossip zone is much more pertinent. For you, it's like, this is stupid, but a stupid reading. I don't gossip, so it's stupid. And I knew better. No, but I've known not to gossip since I was a baby. So this is a stupid reading. And I'm going, no, you know, this is pertinent for me. I can relate to this, and I want to be aware that this doesn't serve me in a positive way. And so that is that.
I'm just trying to, like, when I have a close relationship, for example, after we stop recording, there might be people I talk about, but I don't consider it gossip. I talk about my interactions with them, or I'll question scenarios with somebody that I'm close with, or I'll like I check in to see, like, okay, so I had this situation with this person, this is what I think of this person, and then I'll get feedback on that. I don't consider that gossip.
No, I understand that, and I can relate to that. Like, I'll share stuff with my sponsor, for example, and it'll be, my opinion or about another person sometimes, or it'll be an interaction with somebody else, and I'm looking for feedback on how what am I to do with this information. That's what I'm looking for, feedback on what am I to do with this information. So,
yeah, because I'm thinking, like, I'm sure I've called somebody a piece of crap, and it's not just because I'm gone, it's because, like, I'm trying to work through something. So on that level, I've definitely done that. I do that probably frequently, where it's like, this person, I don't have respect for something along because they did A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Kind of coming off the top of my head, but I'm sure I would do that. And yeah, no. So, like, there's a lot of things where I would talk about somebody because it's affecting me.
Right.
But
the person who was shutting down your market for you. Remember that person?
Yeah, right. Who I never even
individual one.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to wrap it up?
Yeah. Okay.
Or no? Okay. All right.
No, I'm good.
Let's wrap it up. Serenity, we pray. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, and wisdom to know the difference.
Such a pretty smile.